Mayo needs a good showing down the stretch. They're about to lose by 50 points to the Bills this
Most
weekend.
likely.
Whatever it is. They're 2-touchdown underdogs. I will guess they don't cover. I'll go out on a limb and say they don't cover. Meanwhile, you get the Chargers the following weekend, and Mayo can look like a clown because Herbert's never lit up the Patriots. Right. And even if you keep it kind of close, if Herbert's throwing all over, it's like, what do?
You shut him down.
You're from the defensive side of the football.
You were on the staff.
You were on the staff. That's your side of the ball. Herbert never lit the Patriots up. Now he's lighting them up.
That's going to be bad.
That's another bad one.
So I just think it was weird to be so confident that Mayo is going to be back with 4 games to go because there's a good chance they lose all those games. So
at bare minimum, the person who said he's back is like, right. I might have jumped the gun.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I may have jumped the gun on that.
But if you're Rossini or Schefter or Rapport or anybody that is reporting on this, don't you look at it and say, there's a good chance they're going to be 3-14. There's a good chance they get like blown out in a couple of these games.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't know how you can just say like, yeah, like right now he's safe. It's like, well, no. Like, how do you think the rest of the season is going to go? And then is he still safe?
Also, Robert Kraft can tell people whatever he wants. Jonathan Kraft can can tell people whatever they want. Yeah, he's safe. We want to be we want to bring him back.
Yeah.
We don't want to overreact, and we want to give him a second chance. We knew it was going to be a bad year. You can say that.
Yeah.
But then, watch the games and watch how the fan base reacts and watch how people overreact and watch your coach go out and act like a clown again and then put his foot in his mouth after the game and have to walk it back the following day.
Yeah.
And have players be insubordinate and have coaches sniping at one another. And, then watch it all play out. Live it in real time. It's one thing to say, yeah, we want him back. We knew it was going to take a time. We want him to grow. We don't want to overreact. It's another to actually do it.
Yeah.
And so when Rossini says he has to put out a really good coaching performance to wrap up the year.
I know.
Well, there's the guy with the most at stake. It's a no-brainer. Van Pelt might have nothing at stake because he might already be gone.
He's already gone. I agree with that.
Otherwise, he's in the mix. It's Jerod Mayo because I don't know how does he get a good coaching performance?
Well, that's what I also love about it, too, is, it's so different than, a player. We can kind of tell you what a good play, Drake May, does he play well or not? On Monday, we'll be able to tell you. Or, right, everybody will have their opinion on it. It'll be pretty clear.
But largely we'll know.
With Mayo, it's a few different things. Are how many real questionable decisions are there in the game? And then, does he blame everybody else post-game? There's a couple of things to kind of look for. Are there any, glaring... if they don't force a punt, for an example, and they don't make any adjustments, part of you would say, it is Josh Allen. It is the league MVP. It is the Bills. They are really, really good. But you've already 14 games into the year. You're 3-11, so you're not really getting the benefit of the doubt. It's not like, well, you did so well in these other games.
No, if it was a one-off, sure, you'd ignore it.
Because you could grade this one on a curve normally, but I think now it's like, no. What do you got here? What can you do? What do you have up your sleeve these final 3 weeks? And I can't imagine it's much.
No, me either. And I wonder if Mayo woke up today and was like,
damn it.
He's like, I have to put together a good coaching performance.
He's like, oh,
I thought I was good.
What?
I thought I had a second year. I have to put together a good. You think about it, he wakes up on Friday and he's like, we've already been practicing. I got nothing.
Well,
what am I supposed to do here?
I still don't rule out him coming back at all. I still think there's a good chance.
I don't rule it out, but it's looking bleaker and bleaker by the day.
But Mayo was able to talk himself into this job with just his relationship to Robert Kraft. Had nothing to do with his coaching experience or his game plans or his outlook or his my 3-year plan with the team. He didn't have to present any of that. So just his relationship with Kraft got him the job. I think his relationship with Kraft could keep him the job. And then that's why there are so many other scapegoats to be had. I think whether it's offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, I think Kraft is still much more likely to get rid of those guys and be like, you're right, Jerod. You had bad play calling. Let's get you somebody with more experience on defense. I could see them doing that and him being. Can you imagine if Mayo's throwing Van Pelt under the bus and the players under the bus publicly?
Yep.
What on earth is he saying just to Robert Kraft to save his job?
It's got to be bad.
Oh my God! He's tossing those guys right under.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised with some of the tail wagging the dog, where it's Mayo's throwing him under the bus, and then you have Jonathan and Robert watching the game, and they're like, "Well, Jerod's been ripping the play calling. Now we see the play calling, and now we're ripping it on national TV." I wouldn't.
Here's the one.
I wouldn't doubt that at all.
Just based on some of the different reports that are out there, doesn't it feel like Jerod could probably convince Robert that he needs another year? I don't know if he can convince Jonathan, and then therefore can Jonathan convince Robert
Well,
that
that's
we
what I
need
was
to
just
move
going
on.
to say. So
That's what it would have to be.
What's more likely? Mayo can convince Robert he needs a second year, or Jonathan can convince Robert Mayo doesn't deserve a second year?
I think the Mayo part, actually, even though clearly Robert better relationship with Jonathan than with Jerod.
I mean, Jerod's like a son.
Yeah.
Jonathan is a son.
No, it's for sure his son. However, in part of listening to Jonathan in this hypothetical, and he says you got to move on, part of it is now publicly backtracking on how you compared him to Choosing Your Wives and how you picked him 5 years ago and, like, what a great hire he is. Like, it's, Jonathan might be right, but then Robert has to go back on a lot of things that he said.
It's true. But again, what's worse? Being wrong and saying, you know what, I was incorrect about picking this coach, or running this back again next year. I maintain running this back is going to be more embarrassing and more damaging long term. By the way, I think Mayo is about to hit the podium. He may already be speaking.
All right.
So by the end of the show, we could have him sticking his foot in his mouth, walking something back, throwing someone else under the bus. Like, just stay ready for that. And we'll follow that all day long with all your thoughts. Who has the most at stake? Certainly sounds like Jerod Mayo. You could jump in 617-779-7937. Here's more from Diana Rossini at The Athletic on Mayo's future.
I believe that Jerod Mayo needs to put out a really good coaching performance to wrap up the season.
Do they not need to get blown out? Do they need to play him close?
I don't think they're looking at this like this season doesn't matter. I think they want to see that he can do it. But a lot of owners are hesitant to making moves unless they feel like they've got a better option. So you have to wonder if Kraft thinks that there's someone out there that could maybe possibly come in that could be better.
Okay, and we all know who she's talking about. That's Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel. Yeah, that would be it. I mean, with the relationship.
But I agree with her on that. Most owners are not going to fire their coach until they have a good idea of what they're doing. Now, I mean, like the Jets probably fired Saleh, and they're like, we'll figure it out. We have tons of time to figure it out. You're not going to move on from your coach after 1 year unless you have a good idea what you want to do. I do agree with her on that.
Yeah, I think so.
Unless it's not.
Well, that's true. And I think last year, they didn't have any kind of job interview for Jerod Mayo. They just gave him the job. Whereas they did multiple interviews for the offensive coordinator, and they knew, and maybe Van Pelt's better than Bill O'Brien. Maybe they're the same, maybe whatever. But, they knew, hey, we're moving on from Bill O'Brien. And I'm sure Mayo and O'Brien's relationship wasn't great. That's just my guess. But they move on from Bill O'Brien, but then it was like, all right, who are we going to get? And it's like, next guy. So they can't have that. They need to
have an idea. They need it worked out through back channels, which is how it works.
So they need
worked out through back channels. The next guy, not we think we can get him. They need to have it lined up.
They need to have a firm handshake agreement with Vrabel.
For instance, a guy who's not coaching right now as a head coach, he might just be an analyst for another NFL team in a nebulous role. You might want a handshake agreement. Who's in your team Hall of Fame? You might want a handshake agreement with that guy.
You want to make sure that when we fire Mayo, you're not going to go take the money somewhere else, and then we're left.
Yeah, or Josh McDaniels us.
Yeah,
walk off the tarmac.
It's happened. So you want to make sure that's maybe put that in his contract ahead of time, just like you did with Mayo. So you would have to do that. That's definitely a part of it, but it does seem like more and more, and the Tom Curran reporting kind of got it rolling. There is interest from Vrabel, despite how this operation looks, despite them not giving him the job last year, it seems like Vrabel does want the job.
And I listened to Curran yesterday on WEEI Afternoons. He didn't run from anything he said about Vrabel. Remember the development and reporting from Curran too. The day you asked him, Keefe, I thought this was noteworthy at the time. You asked him, all right, there's four guys here.
Oh, yeah.
Friend of the show, DeMarcus Covington, who we talked to later today on a Patriots Friday.
Yep, looking forward to it.
Friend of the show, Alex Van Pelt, who we talked to last Friday.
That's right.
Jerod Mayo and Elliott Wolf. You said, put them in order. Rank them. And
I like Rich Keefe so much. Wait a minute.
And he goes, well, I want to be clear. I don't think anybody's losing their job.
He thought they were all coming back.
Which, by the way, when we talked to him on Tuesday, he's like, no, people are losing jobs.
Yeah.
He didn't say anybody specifically, but he's changed that.
Yeah.
He had Wolf safer than Mayo.